Okay, unfortunately it rained again today, so I left her in last night so she wouldn't be wet and all muddy. So we're just gonna go through how I saddle her up and briefly how I lunge her and how I ride her so you guys are all on the same page. She's got a little hayseed Hanks on her today. So I put this purple hood on her because, it's a snack for later, because her mane fell on the left side of her neck, and as a riding horse, I like a horse's mane to fall on the right side of their neck, so when you go to mount, you can grab a hold of their hair kind of, and it helps you to get on. And with it on this side, it's just, this is my personal preference. Anybody can do whatever they want once she's theirs, but for me, I prefer to do that. She seems to like to get stuff in her face. She loves to rub her head on stuff, which is a gypsy thing. So she gets a little mung in her eyes. I just kind of watch it. The vet, when he did her shots, didn't seem to think it was anything serious, but there's no, he looked at her eyes, there's no ulcerations or anything like that. It's just some horses get that. And of course, since she likes to rub her head in the bedding and stuff, that doesn't help her any. So now I'm going to take this off. Whoever gets her, I'm going to send this purple hood with her because it's her own personal hood. I bought it brand new, but she's already put a hole in it because no day's complete. So we're going to take this off. It's got a surcingle underneath with a strap down here. As you can see, she's a real barrel of energy.
You're okay.
I got it. Step back, please. Whoa. Anyway, since I didn't have a halter on her, we can wander off wherever we want. She doesn't care about it being put over her eyes. She'll just stand here like this. But of course, if you don't have a halter on her and she has an opportunity to go find something to eat, she's gonna... Doesn't give me any trouble to put a halter on. And as you'll see, she isn't really any trouble to do much anything for. If you want to come over here, you can take a look at the braids I put in her mane. Her mane is long enough so that if you don't keep it up in bundles, if you look here, it's this long even in a braid. So if she puts her head down to graze and she steps on these, she'll rip them all out. So that's the other reason I use that purple hood, because it keeps the braids close to her neck and keeps her from stepping on her hair. Of course, if anybody who wants could shorten her mane, but you know the gypsy thing, they love the hair. So I've left her mane to be done with as anybody else wants. While you're at it here, if you want to look, when we bought her, she came from Missouri, and she was hairy. We live in Alabama, it's warm. So she sweated and sweated and sweated. So I body clipped her from here to here, down here, and the same thing on the other side. This is just to keep her cool, all right? So that she didn't sweat because she had all this hair. As you see, she's shedding like crazy. But she's a good girl to shed out. And I always shed them out every day before I ride. Doesn't take a lot of time. And her coat was kind of rough when we got her, because she was in a field with her daughter and a band of other mares. I mean, they were caring for her, but she didn't get that individual attention that is just nice to have. She was lean. I don't know that I'd call her skinny when she came here, but she was definitely lean. She also had a ton of bot eggs. Here, 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 and you'll still see one or two that I've missed. I clipped those off, and both her flanks were full of bot eggs. So I took those out. We dewormed her on January 2nd. We brought her home January 1st. Dewormed her January 2nd with ivermectin. January 20th, I wormed her with Quest. So she's had 2 rounds of deworming. As you can see, in this area in here, she lacks the muscle tone that a horse that's been ridden all the time has, only because she hasn't been ridden except by me the last 4 or 5 weeks that we've had her. So we bought her in January 1st, and we bought her with the true intention of just finding her another home. She was in a spot, and we were going to help her out. You know, you can't feel her ribs, but the overall lack of body tone is just from standing around in a field and having babies. She's had 5 registered live foals and 1 that's not registered that I wouldn't mind owning, to be honest with you. He's a beautiful horse. But that's a whole story for another beer. At any rate, she's now groomed enough. I just did a quick one. Oh, wrong one. So that we can get her saddle on. So now we're going to saddle her and ride her. I also lunge her before I ride her because she does have a bit of a gas pedal, as I said. You know, she likes to move out. She doesn't run. She's never once offered to run off with me. She's never bucked. She's never reared. But trot is her favorite word. Isn't it, Missy? So now we're going to just quick get a saddle on. Again, I'm not fancy about it. I can put it on her pretty much anywhere. She's not flinchy, spooky, fill in the blank. I don't use a whip on her. She doesn't need it. She has a gas pedal of her own. This is for the last horse I rode who has no gas pedal. So she wears a pretty small girth. This one is, this is a 30-inch, and on a Bob Marshall, it's on the very tightest it can go on this side. So she'll need a small-ish girth, but this saddle's kind of rigged different than others, so you'll just have to guesstimate what works for you. Again, this is a Bob Marshall treeless saddle, so it really fits almost every horse I've ever put it on. So you don't need to worry about clearance in here because it's treeless. So I would not say this horse has got a full quarter horsepower. If you're using a Western saddle, my guess is she'd probably wear a semi. I don't even think she's sprung enough for an Arab tree. She's just not a real beefy, wide horse. But she certainly doesn't lack in hair. I want to bring up one thing. If you can come over here, I'll trade places with you. Sorry about this. She has one spot, it's not bloody, but she has one spot where she grows a lot of extra skin. And they call it Malanders and Salanders. Keratosis is a better word for it. She just produces a lot of keratin. So you'll see in here there's some little gobs of stuff. And right here, I will say I brushed it real vigorously. Here, see, that's not even a sore. Yeah, that one's kind of like a little tiny sore. So what I do with that is, see, it's dry and scaly. See, just kind of a dry scale. So what I do with this, I get some stuff from England, but what you'll want to do is get Head and Shoulders conditioner, and all you do is you just rub it into here, and then you use your mane and tail brush like this, and you just brush that area vigorously, and you see that stuff starts coming off. You can also use a fine-tooth comb, but she hadn't been brushed in so long, and it's only this leg. It's not here, it's not anyplace else, just in this little spot right in here. A scaly excess production of keratin is what it's called, and you can see it there, little black things that just kind of catch to it. So I do this, brush it real vigorously, and then use a fine-tooth comb if you have to, but by putting the conditioner on that, and don't rinse it out, put the conditioner in, rub it in, leave it, and then just keep brushing it, and it'll come off on its own, all right? That's a gypsy thing. It's real common in this breed, and they say the more hair they have, the greater the risk of having excess keratin. Well, it stands to reason, right? She didn't have a lot of front feather when she came here, and it's already grown about that much. We keep it cleaned and brushed. She has real nice feather. To be honest, she has more feather than most of the horses I've had, which is really nice if you ever decide to breed. You have a nicely feathered horse with a lot of hair that she produces. I have pictures of her sister. Her sister lived here for about 30 days until her owner was able to find a boarding stable for her. And she has the same amount of hair, so she does produce this hair. Okay? So now we're just going to girth her up. Sorry I sidetracked a little bit. I'm probably going to do that during this video a lot because I want to get as much information to you as I can so you can always look back on this video if there's anything that you've forgotten. She's not girthy. You know, I try and be gentle when I girth a horse, so what I usually typically do is I go like this till it's snug, put it on, that way it's not going to go flying around. I do that, and then that's what I do until I'm ready to ride, and then I snug it up once I get out there. I use this little tiny training fork on her, and I can send this along with her because it's too small for anybody I have. But this is a kind of a headset stabilizer for her. Horses that have a big motor, they like to get their head up like this and go, and this is to help to keep her rounding in the bridle, and you'll see that once I get the bridle on her. So what I usually do is I don't put this on until I get out to the barn, out to the field, stick it in my pocket. I get her bridle, which as you'll see here it's a snaffle. I use an English bridle on her. You can use whatever bridle you want on her. I use an English one only because it has a cavesson, and if a horse gapes at the bit, I can use a cavesson to help hold the mouth shut. I personally am not real fond of this one. It's real big and clunky, but it serves a purpose. This is the bit we use on her. It's a 12 millimeter Verbinden Neue Schule. Neueschule, and then Verbinden. It's a special, anatomically correct, if you see how it hangs, snaffle that molds to the horse's mouth. I have 6 of these. They're about $160 at Dover Saddlery. You can find them used on Facebook for about $100. That's where I found all mine, and I bought every one I could find because I put them on almost every bridle I have here. So now we're going to bridle her up. She's good to bridle. This noseband doesn't make it real easy to put it on, but oh, I missed dirt. But she's not going to run off or do anything stupid. She's just going to stand here. She loves to be groomed, and she's not funky about working with anything. If you brush her legs a lot, and just like that, it goes on, she'll pick her foot up like she thinks you want to trim her foot or clean her foot out. That's the most I've ever seen her do. So I would call her absolutely safe for kids to be around while you're grooming and handling and stuff like that, because this is the typical attitude we try and keep with our horses. We also try not to make things a drama. We don't have a lot of things that can confuse them or wire them up. I just try and make everything as quiet as can be, peaceful, quiet, relaxed. So I'm going to put this cavesson on, and then we'll take her out back, and I'll lunge her and then ride her for you, okay? And Bill will probably turn off the camera while we walk out there so you guys don't get sick to your stomach with the bouncy. And I snug this up a little snug, but not, staple their lips shut. She's not that kind of horse. Like I said, if you just used a Western bridle with her, now that she's used to being bridled again because she had so much time off, I think she'd be fine. As you can see, she's not trying to spit the bridle out. I can't even get that keeper in there, so I'm just going to leave it hanging out there. She'll let you fuss and fiddle with her. She's not like, oh, I gotta go. So, all right, now we're going to go out and we're going to lunge her. There it is. Plain old lunge line. No chain.
And the tail's bundled as well, as you can see by this video.
In 2 bundles, because she's got a lot of tail and it goes just about to the ground, but I just rebundled that, so I'm not going to take it down today. I took pictures of it yesterday, though.
As you can see, we walked by Skippy. She had nothing for him. She just kept going, doing her job.
If you want to pan out over there, you can show them her pen, where she lives most of the time.
And where she lives is back here. When we get down here a little bit farther, I will pan up the hill and show you where she lives. Give me 1 second, I'm going to close the gate. I apologize. Get this gate closed. I apologize for this. And where she lives is right back here on the back side of this. As you can see, she's in a round pen, and she's on the back side of Skippy that we just walked by. So on the front, inside that little green building, there's an opening where she can go in to get out of the weather, and have she's in a high spot. As you can see, it's plenty dry, and she's all good in there. So
I haven't tightened her girth yet, so I'm going to tighten her girth, and I'll show you how tight I make a girth. And again, this is my personal opinion. Everybody has their own idea. If you've had horses, everybody has their own idea of how tight to make a girth. I don't snug a horse up real tight because I feel a horse needs to breathe, and there's too many girth-bound horses out here, full-backed horses. So I do snug it up so that it's tight, like that. But if you take and put your hand in there, I can still fit my hand in there, but it's fairly snug. Now when I'm done lunging her, it's going to loosen a little. I won't tighten it again, but that's my personal opinion. I have really long legs, and I'm a fairly balanced rider. I may not be the prettiest rider, but I'm a balanced rider. So I stay over the center of a horse, and as soon as I say that, of course, one will dump me and make me look like an idiot. But now I'm going to take this little martingale out, and like I said, I would send this along. It's a Y, and you snap it underneath there. There's a ring on the girth, and I snap it down there. I run each rein through these rings up to her neck. And this takes a little doing because these aren't split reins. These are an old set of English reins I have, but they're not real long. I chose those for a reason. Normally I would tie them together. Now what I do is I put one knot in the reins, like so. I make sure I snug it up tight, and then I fit it behind the pommel. So you see, that gave her just a little bit of pressure on the bridle. I do that on purpose because I teach a horse to give to the bit this way without my hands being there. It's not, obviously, I haven't cranked her to her knees. Now if you look, I ran the lunge line. I'm sure, and all this stuff is stuff you may already know and do, but I'm just showing what I do. Up there, over the pole, to the other side of the bit, and to the snaffle between the headstall and the rein. Back up. She's going to be in this area here. Now, I've used the whip with her a little bit, the lunge whip. She doesn't really need it. Once she finds out where I want her to go, she goes on her own. I try not to ask her to go fast right off the end because she always thinks, there she goes. That's her favorite gait. That's the one she likes the most. Rather than fight with her and make her flat-footed walk when she's this fresh, I'll be honest with you, it's been 3 days since I'm going to just let her go. As you saw, she pulled me, and as soon as she found out where her boundaries were, she stopped. I usually lunge in there, but I picked this position here, so it's just someplace different. So you'll see progressions. I just kind of let her go and do her thing. Now, if she were to hump and walk and take off like a 12-cat, I'd probably stop her. But all she's doing is something that I would have asked her to do anyway. She's getting rid of some of her excess energy. Because, like I said, we've been feeding her quite well. She gets about, I would say she gets between 5 and 6 pounds of low starch and light fat grain a day, and 3 to 4 bags of good quality hay twice a day, and probably a half a cup of water. So all that is to help build, and she's also on a muscle builder, which is basically an omega-2 fatty acid supplement. So she's probably feeling no burns, lots of good food. You need to fight over it, because as I'll show you on the thing, she has a not done in scents because I didn't want her marked or kicked or maimed when she's for sale. So that's just the way I do things. Again, anybody could put her out with whoever they please, but this is a sale horse, and that's our policy, is to not put them out where they'll get harmed. If I had my old gelding free, he's babysitting another gelding, I would have put her out with him. But he's not free, and I don't want her getting her food stolen. I want her to get every bit of food we give her. So as you can see, she's not making any moves to run off or anything like that, but there's her favorite gait, the gait you see right there. It's about that speed and about that cadence. If you listen, she didn't speed up and slow down and speed up and slow down a bunch of times. And if she were to slow down a little bit and I'd want to speed her up, I point at her hip. And she moves right off. She is well bred. And whoa, very good girl. I usually lunge her about between 5 and 10 minutes. I'm going to do it shorter today, just so you can see her fresher and so we don't take up a whole bunch of time with you on a video. Now I just do this, the same thing I did the last time, but I go in the other direction just so that she can have both sides of her body suppled up, and it gives her a chance to see everything with both sides of her brain. So back out we go. I make sure that's behind the pole, not down her neck. This is not her favorite way to go, but she won't give you too much trouble. You just keep pointing at her hip until she goes, oh, okay, that's where we got it. It rained buckets and buckets and buckets last night, so this arena is wet, but there's no standing water. It's safe to ride. That's the happy thing of sand. It's pretty, it rains. So as you see in our arena, we have obstacles. I use those obstacles to help rate her speed. When she gets so that she just can't walk with me under saddle, I pick an obstacle for her to walk over because it gives her mind something else to think about, but besides, oh, I have to trot today. I don't know what happened in her past, and you know, anytime you buy a horse that's broke by somebody else, you don't really know what their past is. So I don't know what her penchant for this gait is, but this is one of her favorite gaits. Now, in a whole group of horses going down a trail, my guess is she's just going to follow what everybody else does. She seems to like the idea of a group, which horse doesn't? I don't know a horse on the planet that wouldn't be with another horse versus by itself. And as you can see, she's got a beautiful little jog where she slows down all the way. I point at her hip to keep her going, and good girl. So now we're going to mount. I did get on her without a mounting block. It's not pretty, and I won't repeat it for your viewing pleasure and horror, I should add. So I always use a mounting block on all my horses. It's just, yes, she's short. She's 13, about 13.2, but that doesn't mean I want to reef her back all up. At her age, and with the lack of muscling that she has, well, even a young, strong horse, I just wouldn't do that to him. That's just not cool. So now I'm going to take the knot out of the rein, put the buckle back on, and we're going to go mount at that little green stool over there. And at first Bill helped me because I don't know these horses when I first ride them, and I don't want to give them the opportunity to do something stupid. So now she's to the point where she knows that she's supposed to stand, and most of the time she will stand. But she is one of those horses that like to walk off when you got off. When I say whoa, I try to change my whole body and my whole image about it. Instead of going, whoa, I had a friend come out and ride her and she was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She doesn't know what that means. She knows whoa. And when you say it like that, you'll see when I ride her, she puts on the brakes. She doesn't run through the bridle. She doesn't, charge off like the light brigade. She's just, she's a primitive horse. It will be into her rider, and here's one of the things she did when I first got her, was that she moved away, and I'd get on, and we're going to do it today. So that hasn't been visible before today. If she does it one more time, I'll show you what I do to stop that. Ooh, good girl. Good girl. And when she does stop and stand, I give her plenty of positive reinforcement. Good girl. Whoa. Quit. Now, whoa. Whoa. And there she goes. So that's something we fuss with here. So when we stop her, if she doesn't want to stop, whoa, we do that. I don't fight with her and dig at her face and stuff like that. If she doesn't want to stand while I get on, that's how she's punished. And she knows that's why she's being punished. Until I ask her to go forward, see, no pressure on the one rein, pressure on the other. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. I don't make her stand for too long, and okay means it's okay to go. We go right out and go over a pole. Since I know she has some excess energy today, that's how I deal with her excess energy, is give her mind something to focus on. Again, this horse has never offered to do anything naughty, but I don't like it when a horse won't stand while I get on. I don't like it when a horse picks the gait that she's going to go on. I get to pick the gait. I'm the one that says what we do and when we do it. So we walk until I say it's okay to do something else. So rather than just go around in a big circle and fight with her to rate her speed to keep her walking instead of doing the T-R-O-T that I can't say, we just keep her moving around, and if she wants to fumble over stuff, go ahead and fumble. It's uncomfortable to fumble. You might want to watch where you're going the next time. So I give her thinking things. Whoa. Back. Good girl. Back. Back. Good girl. 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 Now we go this way. Yes, good girl. Very good girl. I know. When I ask for this gait, it's no problem at all to trot. Good girl. Good girl. As you see, I have contact with her mouth at all times. I try and release her from her contact as much as I can. And as you see, she can walk fast. She's a nice little trail horse. She will really cover the ground. It won't be like it takes you forever to get down a trail. Or you could just trip over your feet. That's what happens when a horse walks too fast and doesn't pay attention to where she's going. So that's a good rate here. This is why I use this. Rather than saw on their face and try and get them to go slower, did you notice that her speed on her gait now has slowed down? She's gotten a little reality check that she doesn't want to trip and stumble. No horse wants to trip and stumble. So we keep doing these sort of things, make you look where you're going, make you think about what you're doing. You can't just bumble along and fall down on the trail with somebody. So now you notice that her gait has gotten more careful, which is exactly what we wanted. Normally I would walk her a little longer before I did the T-R-O-T that I can't say very much, so that she learns to just relax. I spend probably 15 minutes on her a day, and of those 15 minutes, the first 10 minutes are walking. Because this horse just needs to walk. Somebody got on her and was in a big ass hurry. And she doesn't need to be in a hurry. And as you can see, I'm not sawing on her face at any point in time. I can show you my pinkies, I can show you my fingers. Even when I moved my fingers, you watched her ears look for where I was going. And whoa, I didn't use my hands at all. When she's relaxed, she stops. But see how she took the advantage to go first? I didn't say we could go, so now we're going to do something else. Whoa. Good girl. Very good girl. I have not done the LOPE with her, only because I know she'd do it. But I want her to be really relaxed. As you see, the longer I'm riding her, the more relaxed she's becoming, and the more I'm giving her of her head. I'm letting my reins give her more and more freedom. If you're going to be quiet and solid with me, I'm going to be quiet and solid with you. If you get racy and want to go through the bridle, I am going to pull up the slack because I'm not going to fight with you all the time about, good girl, about doing what I ask you to do. But that's in a nutshell. Anybody who buys this horse, I would recommend that they just spend a little time walking her and relaxing, putting some poles out, some cones. She goes around the cones real well. She can turn. She's got a nice handle on her. Ooh. Good girl. When I'm done, I say, all done. I take my foot out of the stirrup, I swing my leg, and I slide off on purpose so I don't have any foot in there in case something goes wrong. But again, that's something that every individual can do as they please. So that's about it. As you can see, she's not charging off with me or anything else. I think that once she learns that's all that's expected of her, which she's learning with me, that all I want her to do is just walk and maybe a little bit of easy trotting at the end of it. She'll be happy to go on a loose rein all the time. But I try and be very, very transparent about every horse that's here because I want this horse to go somewhere and never leave that farm again. She's 16 years old. She's been through a rough life in her past. The woman who owned her before got into a bad shape. She leased the horse to people that weren't what they said they were. We all know what that story is like. And the animal's always the one that pays for it. She doesn't deserve it. She's a sweetheart. She's got no problems trailering. She hauled all the way across the country numerous times and never gave any trouble. I'll be honest with you, that bit's a little big on her mouth. I used it on him last because I took her bridle in to redo it, and she didn't get her tongue over it. Some horses will get their tongue over that bit when it's too long. She didn't. You know, she could tell she's kind of mouthing it like, you know, are you sure this is my bridle? Well, no, it's not. It's a hand-me-down. So that's it in a nutshell for her, and if there's any other questions, feel free to ask.